I am a champion of county cricket, what it does and what it delivers.
Ryan Shaw asks, why did you run on a platform of protecting county interests and changing the ECB, but have continued down the same strategy as before?
I don't recall riding on any particular platform, but I suspect that I've always been perceived as a champion of county cricket, having been the chief executive of 2 particular counties, and I am a champion of county cricket, what it does and what it delivers. Even in recent weeks I've been asked questions about the future of the 18 counties in terms of the first class counties, and I think it's made my voice clear in terms of we need 18 counties in terms of what they do both in the community and also their ability to deliver players. I suspect the question is more related to the 100, and I think we've seen a lot of success in the 100. We've seen difficulties in the 100 in that it has split opinion, and I'm hoping that over the next 2, 3, 4 years we can heal some of those divisions and bring it back in.
Andrew Butcher asked, are all county members Luddites, or is it just the ones who've expressed concerns that the long-term plans for the 100 seem weighted towards the richer teams getting richer? And his point is, I think, about this apparent conflict between members, county members, who are passionate lovers of the game, and maybe county executives who think that they've been held back, it seems.
I certainly don't regard members at all as Luddites. They are extremely important in terms of supporting cricket, always have been. If you look at our best attended games, which are our test matches, many of those will be ticket sales that are drawn from our members, and our members are spending per head significantly more money in the sport probably than a more casual observers, as you'd expect from anybody that's buying a bundled ticket, a season ticket, for example. And having recently returned from football, even though football club season ticket holders do not have the formal authority that cricket members have in most of our clubs, my word, when they want something, when they voice their disapproval of something, stuff happens. Whether it's managers getting sacked or prime ministers suddenly saying no, there isn't going to be a European Super League. So the opinions of all of our supporters, whether they're members or not, are really important, and they're the ones that we need to focus on because they're our audience.
It's a shame with the 100 that we all agree it has captured some new fans, but it's such a shame that it's alienated some traditional.
Yeah, and that's my job to try and fix that, I think. And it may be a relatively long, slow burn, but there has been division, and now we want to solve that and soothe that division.
Lots of people ask, will you protect the championship? Can it be played in the summer? The teams playing each other home and away.
I think that's a principle that I hear, I recognise, and ultimately the game will get to decide that. We haven't done a domestic structure review during my short tenure so far. I hope that in however long a tenure I get, I only get to do one domestic review. And so we would like to certainly resolve elements with regards to the 100 over the next 12 months or so. We'd then also like to understand how we can develop the women's game and make that hand in glove with the county game as it has with the 100. And I think thereafter we'll be in a good position to plot our future. But the next time we do a domestic review and we agree as a game what the season's going to look like, that's our next best opportunity. But I think it's some way down the line. I think it's something that we should only be doing, seeking to do for a minimum of a 10-year period as well. Because when I saw the last time we had significant stability in the game is something like between 2010 and 2017, something like that, when not much changed. That's also when we had our fastest spurt of growth during that period, but across the game in terms of membership, attendances and all the rest of it. So, let's. We know what we've got now is not perfect. I'd rather take a bit more time to be able to get us into a position to make not the perfect decision, but the best decision possible, and then bake it in.
Is it inevitable that we go to 10 championship games?
No, I don't think so. No. We want a large pool of really highly skilled players. Therefore, they need to be able to play enough. Was an Alex Stewart quote. If the number of games drops, then you get a couple of rained off, and then you get some England players coming back. Where are the opportunities?
I mean, Richard Thompson said at the Oval he did see some logic in having 3 divisions of 6 with 10 matches. I'm doing my best to sort of espouse this argument, which I don't want to do, but there is that sort of logic, isn't there?
But look, it is not one for this year. But I think it's, everybody knows where the weaknesses are. The difficulty is finding the bit that fixes it. The high performance review came up with some really good conclusions, but the game also excluded any discussions on the 100. So we're having the discussions on the 100 first, and then once that's resolved, we know what we can do thereafter.
Why is there such disconnect, no suspicion between ECB and county members?
Well, I don't distrust members.
But you hear sometimes comments from
I do
executives that are less charitable towards them.
I think there's always healthy cynicism as to what happens in headquarters of any organisation, whether it's the army, whether it's government, whether it's ECB, and I think the role of supporters, members, and the media in showing healthy cynicism in terms of any particular direction of travel of the ECB or a governing body is ultimately healthy, because it leads to more discussion, more debate, and in my experience that always ends up getting to a better solution than you started with. So I really enjoy those challenges that come from members, the challenges that come from yourselves. It's all part of us sort of deliberating the best way forward for the game.
Is there potentially scope for helping Worcestershire financially if they need to move or?
So, Huw Turbervill wrote a piece in the Telegraph on Sunday about Gloucestershire, who were having some financial difficulties, and there was a piece that he wrote that Gloucestershire nearly went bust in, I think, 1915, and one of the things that they did was to write to all the other counties, and the other counties said, right, we'll give you £20 a year for the next 3 years to help you provide that stability. When you look at the difficulties that Worcestershire are in, we've talked about sustainability and global warming. This is a global warming crisis issue that one of our members is facing. They're now assessing those options. I think cricket will always be there to look after its members, whether it's the member clubs, the players, or the supporters. So I think we see the 7 floods that Worcestershire have had. We've seen the 8. Sorry. We've seen the fact that they may need to move in terms of venue. I am sure that there will be a lot of support for them when it's required.
What can English cricket do to help the fact that in Australia, India, England, Test future seems right for those 3 countries, but not the other ones, West Indies as a whole?
Well, I think Test match cricket between England, India, and Australia is extremely strong, and so strong that perhaps sometimes the demise of Test cricket is over exaggerated significantly, because I don't think Test cricket is going anywhere in terms of those 3 countries. I think other countries also, whether it's South Africa, the West Indies, Pakistan, New Zealand, also see Test cricket as a huge something they want to be part of and they want to be a priority. The trouble is, there's competition in the market now, and so we need to make sure that we get the money and the value to where it's being delivered most. And for us, is Test cricket in the West Indies. That's not the case. So we've got different models. But I think we only have to look at the West Indies tour of Australia this winter to see some of the magic that was happening there. Test cricket is so important. I am confident it will always endure. We will never take that for granted. And the more strong countries we've got playing, the better.
I mean, West Indies get 4.5% of the ICC model, India get 38.5%. And it's all about, and Lawrence Booth put it in the Wisden Almanac editorial, but it's
I
like
get that.
platitudes towards West Indies. But actually,
I don't think it's platitudes. I mean that the revenue from ICC, the ICC revenue is not derived from Test cricket. That revenue is derived from ICC competitions, which are okay, the World Test Championship, but largely derived from white ball competitions. And you also need to consider the percentage of revenue that is being generated by each particular party. And if you looked at it on a revenue income basis, then India are giving up far larger portion than they earn.
Is there scope for change there, though? I mean, presumably there's always scope to talk about it.
Yes, in terms of whether it's that share, but I think if you look at India, the other thing that it does do really well is that it tours very well. It provides a huge amount of support to other member countries in terms of going there and playing those games. When you look at the number of games that are played by either the Indian team or the England team in terms of internationals, they're always in the top three because they're always touring, and we know that the most value comes from when you host an India tour. Everybody wants to host an India tour, and I think that they do a really good job in trying to share what they've got in terms of the Indian broadcast money.
Richard Heller asks, what can the ECB do to encourage Afghanistan's winning cricketers?
So for those that aren't aware, clearly when the Taliban took over in Afghanistan again, they stopped women doing lots of things, including cricket, and at that point the Afghanistan women's team, most of them escaped from Afghanistan, and most of them have ended up in Australia, where they have been lobbying the ICC and other interested parties to try and bring about the commencement again of women's cricket. The ICC's view is that the ICC is not able to have an impact on a domestic government. Domestic government policy is for domestic governments. I think as a result of that, certainly countries are more likely to take unilateral action. We've been working on discussions at ICC level with other member countries to understand what action can be taken. I don't think that there is an appetite for action amongst the majority of ICC members directly against Afghanistan, and therefore the unilateral element kicks in, and we've seen with most recently Australia cancelling our one-day series against the men's Afghanistan team. We do not currently have any cricket against Afghanistan scheduled in a bilateral series, and I don't think we would look to schedule Afghanistan in a bilateral series outside ICC. Because of that, yeah.
Interesting. They're in breach of their ICC regs, though, for full member nations, aren't they, at present?
ICC do not believe that they are in breach of regulations, otherwise they would take action. But also, if they're going to take action, it has to have the requisite support of the members of the ICC, and there's a degree of lobbying that's required in order to garner that support.